Hi everyone, welcome back to HowTechs. Today we have the Smooth Q 3-axis smartphone stabilizer by Jir-yoon, and we're going to do an unboxing. So let's just take a quick look at the box. First of all, this is the Hong Kong edition, comes with a 1-year domestic warranty. Some of the key features that they promote here on the back of the box also include direct charging through the gimbal, so you can basically use the battery inside the gimbal to recharge your phone while you're filming. Has instant manual zooming control, 12-hour continuous work time. That's if you're not charging the phone. You can basically use the gimbal for up to 12 hours. And two-way mounting frame for easy switch. And I guess what they're trying to say is you can switch between portrait mode and landscape mode with the phone while you're in the gimbal. So let's grab our scissors and cut the plastic open. And just a quick note, this is actually pronounced Jir-yoon. This means knowledge, this means cloud. It's not the Zhi Yun, it's not the Zhi, it's the Jir-yoon. Just wanted to share that. Okay, so here we go, and the gimbal is in this case. And the rest of the box, and there's not too much else in the box here. We have manual. And then we have this, which includes a strap, and here's the USB cable. It's USB-A, the regular standard USB on one end, and this micro USB that you would find on a lot of older Android phones here on the other end. This is the micro USB, also known as USB-B. Okay, so that's the cables. Here's the strap. Okay, so here's the manual. It's pretty standard, safety warnings, etc., quick start guide, also how to balance, and some information on the app that can be used to control the device as well. So we'll skip through that. Okay, so let's take a look inside the case. This plastic bag is actually sealed, so you'll need to use some scissors. It's cool that it's actually sealed because that way you'll know if the one that you buy has been opened already or not. So at least for ours, it was actually sealed. So nice case, has D-rings for the straps, nice big zippers, unzips easily. And so this is sort of a semi-hard case, rubberized. Opens up like a violin. And here's the device itself. Looks very nice. And it basically comes all ready to go. Okay, so let's take a quick look around to get more familiar with the product. So basically we have the main joystick here. We have two LED indicators. I think this is for the battery and this is for the status. There is a slider here for zooming in and out. This is the power button, and then we have also the mode, and that'll switch between the follow mode and pan mode, etc. So here on the side we have a micro USB, and that's used for charging, which is why the charging light is right here. And this can not only be used for charging, it actually can also be used for rewriting the firmware. So if they come out with a new firmware, you can use the cable that came with it to upgrade this. And here on the bottom there's a screw mount for tripods, which is really useful. And then last but not least, here on the back we actually have a rubber plug which blocks a USB-A port, and this guy actually is the one that can be used to charge your phone using the battery in here. This is really useful if you're filming all day and you want to keep your camera charged without having to stop and take it out, so you can take advantage of the larger battery inside of here. So that's one of the great features about this Zhiyun Smooth Q, is that it basically has a power bank built in. Okay, so now let's take a look at the gimbal itself. Very smooth movement, obviously, hence the name. And it has these basically gripper claws, which you can see here. And there's also a spot for the edge of the phone to fit here. And this is somewhat rubberized. It's very firm, but it's not going to scratch your phone at all, which is the most important thing. And also hold it very firmly, because you definitely don't want your phone to fall out while you're walking around panning and zooming. So this is basically spring-loaded, and then on the back here there is this knob which is used actually for balancing. So once you put a phone in here, you want it to be balanced in a neutral position like this, and depending on the size of your phone and how heavy it is, you're going to have to adjust this accordingly. So once you put your phone in the first time, you have to balance this, and if you're switching from one phone to a bigger one or a smaller one, the balance point's also going to change. So there is a knob here on the inside to adjust the position, so that slides in and out to help you find the balance point of your phone. Also, one other key feature of this gimbal versus other ones, as you can see here, is that it has this extra knob here on the back, and that is not to balance it, but actually allows you to switch from landscape mode to portrait mode. So that's actually one of the key features that differentiates the Jir-yoon from things like the DJI Osmo. Okay, so we have a iPhone 6, and let's try it out. So even with one hand and a case on it, we're actually able to load it in pretty easily. And let's get this guy seated at the end. So you want to make sure that it's pushing in here. And actually the balance is not too far off. So let's just quickly adjust that a little bit. Too far. Okay, not too bad. So it's pretty balanced. This is actually pretty tricky to get it perfect, as you can see. Okay, so we've balanced our iPhone 6, and without even loading the app yet, let's just try powering it on. So okay, it's basically off, and we pressed power. It takes a second, and now it has turned on. As I move around, it basically tracks where it was pointed, and just using the joystick I can pan up and down. So it's not perfect if I swing back and forth, but pretty decent. And then obviously I can pan up and down. Now if I push the mode button, we should go from pan mode to manual mode. And so now I can rotate and also pan up and down. But it's still stable around the rotation axis. So let's try with the software on and see how it behaves in that case. And we can actually start using the other controls here. Okay, so let's download the ZY Play app, and it's quite fast. Okay, so we've got the Zhiyun Play app loaded up, and we'll just connect to our device, and it's showing up already, so we'll just hit camera. And here we are. So we'll switch to the manual mode, and here we can pan and tilt. And so basically this is the first mode. Then there's also the follow mode, so now basically tries to stay focused on the same direction no matter what's happening with the gimbal. There's also now the follow mode, where you can basically identify a region, and now it will follow that around and pan and tilt to keep that in the frame. This is obviously the coolest feature, and you can just imagine all kinds of great situations where you can use this in. Maybe you're on a skateboard and you're filming your friend on a skateboard. It's great if it can basically just automatically keep them in frame. So definitely the cool part about it. And obviously if you jerk it enough, it's possible to have it lose it, but not that bad. And then you can still manually control it here to get it back in frame. So that's the basics on the app. Pretty much, let's exit that. Pretty much it allows you to adjust, in the software allows you to adjust pretty much everything. So you can actually adjust the rates at which it rotates and whatnot. You can recalibrate some advanced features. You can change the device name so you can keep track of it. You can also do different modes if you're doing slow-mo or time-lapse. And then also in here you can adjust things like the resolution. So for this particular phone, it can do up to 1080p 60 frames per second, and basically the Jir-yoon Play app allows you to choose all that, and also you can do still photos. Additionally, you can do different modes. You can set grid, you can turn the flash on, do some anti-shake. Here you can do different modes. You can actually also control this from a remote control. So if you have it on a tripod and you're basically taking selfies, for example, you can switch it on and off. And then also we have some filters, and these are always pretty lame, so I don't know anyone who's going to actually use these. And then here on the left side, you can go back to home. You can switch between video camera mode and still mode. So let's take some stills. You can do front-facing camera or rear-facing camera. And you can also go to your gallery and see the photos and videos you've taken already and filter by each one. One interesting thing is, just because it shows up in this gallery doesn't mean it's automatically saved to your phone in your normal photo gallery, at least on the iOS device. So you have to actually select it and then save it to the device for it to show up in your regular iPhone photo album. So just keep that in mind. And as we showed already, this is the one to do the follow mode. So if you just select the object, and then it sort of does its smart tracking on that. And you have to click here to exit. And you can also do a lot of this stuff from the controls here. Obviously, it's much easier if you're doing one-handed to not have to reach up with the second hand, especially when this thing is moving around. So we found, obviously, joystick, depending on the mode, will do pan, tilt. If you're in follow mode, the automatic follow mode will actually also do the roll. But then also, so you can switch the mode here using the mode button. So single click to switch between the two modes, and if you double click, it goes into the follow mode, and then in that case does the roll. So now, because we have the app running, you can also do zooming in and out. And so if you basically can zoom in and out, and then it's actually also interesting, we found if you pull and hold for maybe 2 seconds, it'll actually switch the modes. So if I do that, it'll switch between the camera mode, the still camera mode, and the video mode. And if you hold it all the way up for 2 seconds, it switches between the front-facing camera and the rear-facing camera. And that's pretty cool. One more control we discovered is actually the power button. So there's a red dot on here for a good reason. That's because it actually is your shutter button as well. So if you hold it down for 3 seconds, it turns it on and off. And if you just click it really fast, it hits the shutter. So what that means is, in effect, is if you hold this down, it'll switch to video mode, and then you can start recording a video, stop it, switch back to still mode, take a few stills, and all without actually having to touch the screen. So that's pretty useful. Okay, so that's a quick walkthrough. Let's just give some final thoughts and impressions on this guy. We used it about an hour. Took a little while at first, but after about 10 minutes we figured out all the controls, got the app to work with no problem. So it's great that these buttons are all multifunctional, but the slider is actually not that well done. So as we mentioned, you can use it to zoom in and out, and if you hold it, you can also get it to switch modes between front-facing camera, rear-facing camera, and then also video and still picture mode, but it's very easy to do the wrong one by accident. So if I just hold it, if I zoom in, if I'm trying to zoom in and I zoom in a little bit too long, it actually ends up switching to still mode, and every time it does that, it goes back out to 0 zoom. So could have been done a little bit better. So if this was a higher quality switch, it might be easier to tell when you're just zooming versus switching modes, but for what it is, it's not that clear. A couple other things, maybe the lights blink a little bit too much. It's good that it warns you, but then constantly blinking like this is a little bit annoying. One other thing, we found that this USB placement could be maybe a little bit better. You're not usually charging it while you're using it. We found that for a cable with a kind of a fat end like this, it actually doesn't even stick all the way in very well because of the curved contour here. So that's it's kind of a small nitpick. If you use the cable that comes with it, it's probably not a problem, but it could have been done better, and the location could have probably been chosen a little bit better. One thing that you might have noticed is I'm actually left-handed, so I've been using it mostly on my left hand, and it turns out this is high enough up that it doesn't really matter, it doesn't affect it, and it's actually probably better. If I was using my right hand with the cable in here, it actually might interfere. So it actually maybe is better for left-handed people than right-handed people, at least in that particular case where you're trying to charge it while using it. But let's put that in contrast with the DJI Osmo, where they have their side mounting for the tripod right where a left-handed person puts their hand. So after playing with a demo for a couple seconds, instantly we were like, why is it rubbing on our hand so roughly? And we realized it's because it's the knurled edge of the tripod mount. So luckily this guy doesn't have that problem. It's one of those things, if you're right-handed, maybe you never notice, but if you are left-handed, it gets to be pretty annoying. So last but not least, let's put in some footage that we filmed outside, just so you can see how it looks. This is just recording with the device powered off, holding the handle still with my hand and walking. Okay, so this is with the device turned on, and it's in the pan and tilt mode, and I'll do the same walk. Okay, so let's do a real world test of the tracking. As you can see, I've set the tracking on the software to follow this sign, and let's just give it a try. As you can see, pretty decent. Managed to stay in frame, and we can try moving a little bit more. And it does lose it sometimes, but once it finds it again, it follows. So in some cases, if you move it fast enough or you're at an extreme enough angle, it might lose the item that you're tracking, in which case you can use the tilt and pan to reacquire it. So let's give it a try. I'll walk really sharply to the right to the point where it can't see the sign anymore. And as you can see, you have to be careful because sometimes you can actually bump into the phone itself. Depending on how big a phone you have, that might be more of a problem. But let's see if it has found it again. And yeah, it looks like it's actually reacquired it. So that's actually pretty decent. Okay, so what do you think? Any questions? Anything we can help you with? So if you have any questions, please leave a comment. We always try to answer all the questions we can, but please keep in mind that we don't keep this hardware forever. This is 2017 when we're making this video. If it's the year 2022 and you're asking about this particular model, don't be surprised if we can't help you because we don't have it on hand anymore. Please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time here on HowTechs. Oh, like that was kind of a bad idea, because what if that goes bad, that goes wrong? So in this case, just keep it simple, only have one plug, and there